Sometimes a peaceful morning hides a truth so terrifying that it changes an entire village forever. The story begins in the quiet district of Ballia, Uttar Pradesh. It was the early morning of 10th May 2025, a morning that looked ordinary on the surface but carried a horrifying secret beneath it. In the small village of Karid, women often walked toward the Diara River Ghat to collect water, wash clothes, or simply enjoy the calm breeze flowing from the river. On this particular day, a group of women was walking through a small orchard located beside the narrow pathway. The orchard was always silent, filled with dense trees and the earthy smell of wet soil. Nothing seemed unusual, until one woman suddenly stopped. Her eyes had caught something that didn't belong in that peaceful place. Lying near the bushes was a large black plastic sheet, strangely spread out as if someone had placed it there deliberately. At first, the woman thought it was just discarded garbage, but the shape underneath the plastic looked odd. It wasn't flat. Something heavy was inside it. The woman stepped closer, feeling a cold chill run through her body. She hesitated, then lightly pushed the plastic with her foot. It didn't move like garbage. It felt solid, heavy, as if it was covering something that should never have been there. Her breath quickened. Fear and curiosity pulled her toward the unknown. She immediately called out to the other women, her voice trembling, "Come here. Something is wrong. Something is inside this." The other women gathered around, all equally nervous. Their hands shook as one of them slowly lifted the corner of the black sheet. The moment the edge lifted, an unbearable smell hit them, and in the very next second, they froze in horror and screamed. What lay beneath that plastic would soon shake the entire village of Ballia. What the women saw beneath that black plastic wasn't just a body. It was the beginning of a nightmare no one was prepared for. The screams of the women echoed through the quiet orchards, slicing through the calm morning air. Within moments, villagers from nearby houses rushed toward the spot, some still confused, others already fearing the worst. As more people gathered, the orchard that was silent moments ago now trembled with murmurs, whispers, and trembling breaths. The black plastic sheet was carefully lifted by a few brave men, and what lay beneath made the strongest among them step back. It was a body. A woman's body. Her clothes were torn, her face was bruised, and her hands looked as though they had struggled desperately before her life was cruelly snatched away. What shocked everyone even more was the fact that no one recognized her. In a village where everyone knew everyone, a stranger's dead body raised dozens of terrifying possibilities. Who was she? Why was she here? And why had someone chosen this isolated orchard to hide her? Some villagers speculated she might have been brought from another place in the dead of night. Others whispered darker theories, that maybe someone from the village itself was hiding a monstrous truth. While the villagers argued and panicked, one thing became clear. This was no ordinary tragedy. This was a crime committed with chilling planning. Within an hour, the police arrived. The orchard, once filled with ordinary village life, had now turned into a crime scene. Yellow ropes were tied around trees. Officers searched every inch of the area. The body was carefully examined, and even the most experienced officers could not hide the shock on their faces. The injuries told a horrifying story. Whoever had done this had shown no mercy. The police noted deep bruises on her arms, marks around her neck, and cuts near her wrists. Everything pointed toward a violent struggle. The woman had fought, but lost. The villagers watched helplessly as the police photographed the area and collected evidence. Many women cried silently, shaken to the core. Mothers held their daughters closer. Men stayed alert, their eyes scanning the surroundings with newfound suspicion. A sense of fear, one that the village had never experienced before, began to settle like a dark cloud. The officers then carefully wrapped the body and took it away for post-mortem. But before leaving, the inspector addressed the villagers. "We need information. Anything unusual you saw last night, anything you heard. Whoever this woman was, someone knows something." As the police vehicle left, taking the body along, the villagers found themselves standing in silence again. But this silence was different, heavier, darker. The discovery had shaken their sense of safety. Some villagers began recalling strange sounds from the previous night. Others mentioned a motorcycle speeding near the fields at around 2 a.m. But no one knew for certain what had happened. And that uncertainty made the atmosphere even more frightening. The investigation began immediately. Police teams went door to door, speaking to families, searching houses, and checking mobile networks to identify calls made during the night. CCTV footage from the nearest highway checkpoint was requested. But there was still no clue about the woman's identity. Her face, although bruised, did not match any missing women reported in the district. The officers then widened their search to nearby districts. Still, nothing. It was as if she had appeared from thin air, only to disappear again in the worst way possible. Meanwhile, rumors spread like wildfire. Some said she was a migrant worker. Others claimed she might have been kidnapped from a nearby town. A few even suggested she could be involved in a personal rivalry that escalated into murder. Every theory brought more questions. Every question brought more panic. The mystery deepened when the forensic team made an unexpected discovery. There were traces of mud under the woman's nails, suggesting she had tried to crawl or escape before being overpowered, and that meant one thing. She was alive, terrified, and fighting when she reached that orchard. This revelation sent shivers down the spine of every villager. If the crime had taken place here, that meant the killer could still be nearby. Someone who knew the orchard. Someone who knew this path was mostly deserted. Someone who had confidence that the body wouldn't be found easily. The police began to suspect that the killer might have visited the area more than once. Maybe he had even scoped the location days before committing the crime. As afternoon turned to evening, the entire village gathered in small groups, discussing possibilities, arguing over theories, and trying to piece together clues they didn't truly have. Fear had now settled permanently. Parents warned their daughters not to step out alone. Even men avoided walking near the orchard after sunset. The mystery of the unknown woman had turned ordinary daily life into a tense, fragile existence. But the real twist came late in the evening when one of the constables rushed to the inspector with startling news. Something had been found during the post-mortem, something that could change everything. The inspector read the note, his eyes narrowing in focus, his face turning serious. Without wasting a second, he ordered his team to return to the orchard. Something was still hidden there. Something the killer left behind. something the police had missed in the morning. And now, as night approached and the villagers locked themselves inside their homes, unaware of what was unfolding, the investigation was about to take its first major turn. Sometimes the dead speak louder than the living, and what they reveal can destroy the lies people desperately try to protect. The moment the inspector received the post-mortem update, he knew the case was no longer what it appeared to be. The team rushed back to the orchard with powerful flashlights, scanning the ground with renewed attention. The villagers peeked from their windows, wondering what new horror had emerged. The police slowly walked around the area, analyzing the soil, broken branches, and every small disturbance. Near a cluster of bushes, one constable noticed something tiny, something that the morning chaos had overshadowed. It was a piece of cloth, torn, dusty, and partially buried under dry leaves. When they lifted it, the inspector noticed it wasn't ordinary clothing. It belonged to a school uniform, and beside it, they found a small silver locket, crushed but still recognizable. This discovery changed the atmosphere instantly. The inspector realized that the woman might not have been alone when the incident happened. The locket had initials carved on it, 2 letters that could belong to a child. The team searched deeper, and only a few feet away they found small footprints in the mud, partially erased but still visible under the torchlight. A child was here. Maybe the child witnessed something. Maybe the child was connected to the victim. And the most haunting possibility, maybe the child was still missing. The police wasted no time. They expanded their search radius and alerted nearby stations to report any missing child cases filed in the last 48 hours. Meanwhile, the post-mortem report revealed chilling details. The woman's cause of death was strangulation, but what shook the inspector was the presence of traces of chloroform found in her respiratory tract. This proved that the attacker had planned everything carefully, using chemicals to weaken her. The report also mentioned light bruise marks on her forearms shaped like tiny fingers. It seemed she had held someone tightly, desperately, maybe trying to protect them. The theory that a child was with her during her last moments became stronger. The inspector, now more determined than ever, ordered his team to dive into recent missing person databases until they found a match. Hours passed, and just before sunrise, one constable came running with a breakthrough. A missing report had been filed late last night in a town about 40 kilometers away. A woman named Rehana and her 6-year-old daughter Amina had disappeared. Her husband claimed they had gone to visit relatives but never arrived. The photograph attached to the report matched the dead woman. The entire puzzle finally began to form a picture, one filled with fear, betrayal, and hidden tragedy. But one question screamed louder than all. Where was the child? The police immediately visited the husband, Sharif, who appeared strangely calm for someone whose wife and daughter were missing. His story was inconsistent. He avoided eye contact and hesitated when asked simple questions. When the inspector showed him a photo of the body, Sharif didn't react with shock. He reacted with discomfort. That single moment convinced the inspector that Sharif wasn't telling the truth. The house was searched top to bottom, yet nothing concrete was found. But when the team inspected a small storage room at the back of the house, they discovered traces of rope, a broken phone, and a cloth with chemical stains. Sharif's calmness evaporated instantly. Under pressure, Sharif finally revealed fragments of the truth. He claimed he had been suspicious of Rehana, accusing her of wanting to leave the house with Amina due to constant fights. He insisted he had nothing to do with the murder, but the fear in his voice betrayed him. The inspector noticed something else, a pair of muddy shoes near the door. The mud on them had the same reddish tint as the orchard soil. Sharif was arrested immediately, but even then he shouted desperately, "I never killed her! She ran away! Someone else did this!" Yet he refused to explain how the mud on his shoes matched the crime scene. With Sharif in custody, the police intensified the search for little Amina. Every field, canal, abandoned house, and roadside area was searched. Villagers joined the search teams with lanterns, their hearts heavy with fear. Hours went by with no success until an elderly farmer approached the police saying he had seen a small girl crying near the fields late last night. She was with a man, someone he didn't recognize, someone who hurried toward the road when the farmer approached. That single statement sent the investigation spiraling in a new direction. If Sharif wasn't the last person with the child, then who was the mysterious man? The police checked CCTV footage on the main road leading to the highway, and there it was, a blurry image of a man holding a small girl rushing toward a motorcycle. The number plate was partially visible. With enhanced footage, the team traced it to a man named Imran, a close friend of Sharif. The police raided Imran's house, but he had already escaped. However, neighbors revealed something shocking. Imran had often argued with Rehana, and she had warned him to stay away from her family. Some even believed he was obsessed with her. The search for Imran turned into a statewide manhunt. Police checkpoints were tightened and teams spread across nearby districts. Finally, near an abandoned factory, officers found a small pink shoe lying near the entrance. It belonged to Amina. With renewed urgency, police entered the dark building inside. They heard faint sobs coming from a corner. When the flashlight hit the spot, they found little Amina, shivering, terrified, and tightly clutching a broken locket, the same one found at the orchard. She whispered only one sentence: "He hurt my mama." Amina was rescued safely, and within hours Imran was arrested while trying to flee across state lines. During interrogation, the horrifying truth spilled out. Imran had been obsessed with Rehana for years. When she rejected him and decided to leave the area with her daughter, he followed them. He confronted her near the orchard. An argument turned violent, and in the struggle he strangled her. The child witnessed everything, and out of fear that she would reveal the truth, he took her away to hide her. The entire mystery was now clear. Rehana wasn't killed by her husband. The black plastic wasn't dumped randomly. And the child's silence wasn't just fear, it was trauma. Justice was finally served. Imran was charged with murder, kidnapping, and attempt to harm a minor. Sharif, although a cruel husband, was not guilty of the murder. Amina was reunited with her relatives, but her eyes carried a sadness that no child should ever bear. The village slowly returned to normal, though the orchard remained a place that many avoided. The truth had been uncovered, yet the haunting memory of that morning lingered. But this story leaves one lingering question for all of us to think about. Why do we often ignore the silent cries of those suffering in their own homes until tragedy forces us to notice?